In this GED video, I am going to go over 10 sample science questions, and you might see similar questions on the GED Science test. Let's look at the first one. It says, which conclusion can be reached from the information on this map? Let's use the process of elimination here. Let's look at A. Volcanoes are scattered randomly across Earth. Do you think that's true? The yellow dots are the volcanoes, and do these yellow dots appear to be randomly scattered across the Earth? I'd say no, they're clustered in certain areas. If they were randomly scattered, I'd expect to see more yellow dots across the map. So let's get rid of A. Let's go to B. What do you think? Volcanoes are only located along edges of continents. Now, when I see extreme words like only, always, never, if I'm running out of time, I eliminate these answer choices. That's a good test-taking strategy if you're running out of time, because a lot of times when you see those extreme words, the answer is not correct. But let's go ahead and look at this anyway. So it says volcanoes are only located along edges of continents. What do you think? You think that's true? Are they only located along the edges of continents? In other words, if I can find one volcano that's not on the edge of a continent, I can eliminate B. Well, let's see. Here's one right here that's not on the edge of the continent. Here's another one here, so we can get rid of B. What about C? Volcanoes are mostly, I like this word mostly better. Volcanoes are mostly located along boundaries between plates. Well, let's see. On the map, the boundaries between plates are represented by this black line. These black lines, those are the plate boundary lines. Do most of the volcanoes appear to fall on these plate boundary lines? Yeah, they sure do. The yellow dots appear to fall along the black lines throughout this map for the most part. So I'm going to say C is probably our answer. Let's go to D just to be sure. Volcanoes are distributed equally in the northern and southern hemispheres. Let's see. The red line's the equator. Here's the northern hemisphere. Here's the southern hemisphere. Do the volcanoes appear to, do we appear to have the same amount of volcanoes in the northern hemisphere as the southern? I'd say no. So I would eliminate D for sure, because there's more in the north. There's more yellow dots than in the south. So just to be sure, I eliminated D as well. Let's go to the next one. It says the diagram below shows a typical energy pyramid. Which statement correctly describes the flow of energy through this pyramid? So let's go through the process of elimination. All, again, I see that extreme word all, never, always. If I'm running out of time, I would eliminate this answer choice. All of the energy from the lower levels is available to the top. Well, here's how you read these energy pyramids. You read them from bottom to top. And as you go up the energy pyramid, energy is lost. And you can kind of see that there's more energy at the bottom than at the top, because there's more space covered by the bottom of the pyramid than the top. So that's one way to look at it. So this is asking us, is all of the energy from the lower level, so here's the 3 lower levels, is all this energy here available to the top level right here, to this top level right here? No. You can see there's much more energy at the bottom 3 levels than the top. And to visually see that, there's more space covered on these bottom 3 levels than on the top. So let's get rid of A. What about B? You think we can keep that? Think we can keep B? Let's see. The producer level directly provides energy to all the other levels. Now, the way you read this energy pyramid is the producer level directly provides energy to the thing right above it. So it only provides energy, or I should say it only directly. It might indirectly provide energy to the top, to these two, but it only directly provides energy to the thing right above it. So the producer only directly provides energy to the primary consumers, not to the other two. So this is gone. Now the producer does provide energy indirectly to these two, but it only directly provides energy to the thing right above it. So this one's gone. What about C? The highest amount of energy is transferred between levels that contain consumers. So the highest amount of energy only is transferred between energies that contain consumers. So there's 3 levels that contain consumers. I'm a little confused on this one. I'm going to keep it because I don't want to eliminate it too quick. And let's just move to D real quick and see if we can understand that better. I'm going to come back to C. Energy is directly transferred from the primary consumer to the secondary. So let's see. Is it directly transferred from primary to secondary? Yes, because this secondary is directly above the primary, so that means that energy is directly transferred from primary to secondary. This is true. Again, energy is directly transferred to the things that are kind of right on top of each other. So producers directly provide energy to primary, primary directly provide energy to secondary, secondary directly provides energy to tertiary. So this one's true. Let's just get rid of C. And let's go to the next one. So a scientist here collects data on solubility of different salts at different temperatures. Solubility is the ability for how quickly something dissolves in a liquid, I believe in this case water. So here are the results. Which conclusion is supported by the graph? Let's see. So what conclusion can we draw? So let's just use the process of elimination. Solubility always, there's that extreme word again. If I was running out of time, I would get rid of this. Solubility always increases as temperature increases. Well, in other words, is it always true that as temperature goes up, solubility goes up? Is that always true? Basically what this is asking, it's saying that all the graphs are increasing. Let's look at the red graph. Is the red graph increasing from left to right? You always read from left to right. Yes, it's increasing, it's going up. That implies that as the temperature goes up, the solubility goes up. So this question is basically saying that all the graphs are going up. All the graphs are increasing. Is that true? Well, the red graph is increasing, and the yellow graph's increasing, the green graph's increasing, the blue graph's increasing. Uh-oh, this one's decreasing, it's going down, and you always read it from left to right. So this one's telling us that as the temperature increases, the solubility actually goes down. So this is not always true. See you later, A. Let's look at B. At 40 degrees Celsius, KCI has the highest solubility of the salts in the table. Well, let's look at the key down here. KCI is the green graph right here. It's the green graph, KCI. So that's at 40. So we're going to look at 40 degrees right here. And we're going to identify the solubility of KCI, the green graph. It's right here. At 40 degrees, does KCI have the highest solubility at 40 degrees? Well, let's see. The solubility would be over here, right? No, I would say no, because this blue graph has a higher solubility. It's higher up. And the red graph's even higher. So at 40 degrees, the highest solubility is here. The highest solubility at 40 degrees is the red graph, which is this one, PbNO32. It's definitely not the KCI because that's right here. Let's get rid of B. What do you think about C? The rate of change in solubility of KNO3, which is the blue graph, changes as temperature increases. A little confusing to understand. I mean, I could get into this, but you know what? Let's just go to D, see if we can eliminate or keep D and worry about C later, even if we might not need to worry about C. So this says the solubility of NaCl, the yellow graph, does not increase with increasing temperatures above 80 degrees Celsius. That's basically saying that the NaCl I believe that's table salt, that at 80 degrees, once it hits 80 degrees, it stops increasing. Well, let's see if that's true. Let's go to 80 degrees right here, and we're looking at the yellow graph, which is right here. So at 80 degrees, does it stop increasing? No. Look at the graph. It continues to go up a little bit. It continues to increase after 80 degrees. It doesn't stop increasing. So I can get rid of D, and my answer has to be C. Let's go to the next one. I would flag this one. I call this POOD. I know that sounds funny. POOD stands for personal order of difficulty. These reading passages suck up all my time, and I flag them. But you might really feel confident in your reading abilities and to be able to identify text and make inferences. If you are, then don't flag this. Personal order of difficulty means that what might be difficult for you may be easy for another person. So when you flag problems, it's based on your POOD, your personal order of difficulty. So the first thing I do with these reading articles, and again, if I were taking this test, I would just flag this and go to the next one. But I go to the question. Let's do that really quickly. So this is for questions 4 and 5. Before I even read this, I go to the question to get an idea of what's going on. And to be honest with you, I even make a prediction here to see if I can actually predict the correct answer without reading the article. So it says, based on the previous slide, select the answer that describes how deforestation, and hopefully you know what that means. You want to use some background knowledge here. Deforestation is when they cut down trees. How deforestation could disrupt the life cycle of something. And it's basically talking about the life cycle of this fungus, and we're dealing with tropical rainforests. So do you think you could make a prediction of what the answer might be? In other words, if we cut down trees, how could it affect the life cycle of something? Well, I read these through. You can scan these through. What do you think a good prediction would be? Which one of these answer choices deals with deforestation and rainforests? Well, A does. It says the fungus rely on specific ant species which make their nests in tropical rainforests. If we cut down the trees, it might disrupt that life cycle. I would probably predict A. What about B? Does this have to do anything with deforestation and rainforests? The fungus feeds it and grows inside the insect host. That's true, but it doesn't have anything to do with deforestation. And let's see, neither does C. Now D does. D, clearing of the trees enables the fungus to grow on the ground. So clearing of trees has to do with deforestation. I'm serious. At this point, I would just guess and go on. But I want to kind of go over the article. I would either pick A or D. I'd probably pick A. But basically, if you read this article back here, and you can pause the video and read it, it's actually quite interesting and quite disgusting. The fungus actually gets inside the insect's head, and it kills the ant, and the fungus grows out of the ant heads, and its spores are released on the ground, and that's how it basically reproduces. So in short, this article talks about how the spore, or the fungus right here, needs the insect, the ant specifically, to reproduce. Without the ant, it can't reproduce, or it won't be able to reproduce as much. And the ant lives in the trees, and it makes its nest there. So if we cut down the trees, it's going to mess up this whole life cycle. If you scan this and read this, you will see that that has to do with A. And the answer here is A. Again, you can rewind the video and see how I arrived at that. So hopefully my summary made sense as to why the answer here is A. Let's go to the next one. And again, I would have flagged this one. Let's go to the next one. Again, this has to do with the article. I summed up the article, but basically this is the question. Let's read this through. You want to read this through, get an idea of what's going on. Some researchers are studying the fact that the parasitic fungi for use as insecticides due to their natural ability to destroy tissues. Other researchers argue that there are few potential uses for fungi as insecticides with multiple targets. So what this is basically saying is the researchers are saying, can we use fungi as a effective insecticide? An insecticide kills multiple types of insects and bugs. And one of the researchers argues that they might not be very good for multiple insects. So it says here, which fact from the passage on the previous slide supports the argument that parasitic fungi offer at best severely limited potential as insecticides? So basically what it's saying here in the question is that it might be a good insecticide for maybe one type of insect. It might kill one type of insect, but not multiple insects. So which one of these kind of arguments suggests that? See, a little bit confusing. If you go back to the article real quick, so I don't want to get too bogged down in this. The insecticides, or the fungus, is a good insecticide for the ant because it kills the ant and it controls the ant population. You can read that down here. But that's it. It only has one host and it only kills one insect, not multiple insects. So it's not very good for a general insecticide. So based on that, and based on this question, which one do you think I'm going to choose? Let's make sure we understand the question. Which fact from the passage on the previous slide supports that the argument that the parasitic fungi at best is severely limited as a insecticide? Well, that would be C, because the fungi are host specific. In other words, whatever host they attach to, they kill, but it's host specific, so it doesn't kill multiple hosts, just one. Again, confusing, and I find these reading articles take some time, but I hope so. The test taking strategy for the reading articles is to make sure you read the question ahead of time. And if we go back to this one especially, we were able to predict this. Hopefully that made sense. The answer before even reading the article. All right, let's go to the next one. This has to do with Newton's law. If you're good at math, you might want to do this one. If not, you might want to flag this as well. So remember, it's a time test. So they talk about Newton's law, and they say which statement describes the pattern established in this table. So there's some patterns in this table. We have net force, we have mass, and acceleration. I am going to use the process of elimination here. Let's start with A. It says a doubling of the net force. So the net force is doubled. Well, let's look at that doubling of net force. Let's see. Here's the net force. It's doubled here and here, right? Or it's doubled here and here. So you have a choice here to use either the rows 1 and 3 or row 2 and 4. And then it also says if I double the net force, like from here to here, right? From here to here or wherever, a doubling of the net force increases acceleration 4 times when the object's mass is constant. Also, the object's mass is constant. Well, the object's mass is constant here and here. Constant means it stays the same. It's also constant here and here. So you have a choice of using either row 1 and 3 or row 2 and 4. So let me kind of clarify that for you, because I know this math stuff can get confusing. So basically it's saying, if I read this question backwards, where is the mass constant? Well, constant means it stays the same. So here's the mass. It's constant here and here. And it's also constant here and here. So you can use, again, row 1, row 3, row 2, row 4. I'm going to use row 1 and row 3 because it's constant here and here. You have a choice. So let's do this now. So the mass is constant here and here. And then it says the net force, there's a doubling of the net force, which is true. If you look at the corresponding net force, it doubles. So when the mass is constant and the net force doubles, does this happen? Does the acceleration increase by 4 times? Now we go to the acceleration. Let's see, the corresponding acceleration is here and here. So let's see, does the acceleration increase? Yes. does it increase by 4 times? No. It increases 2 times because 4 times 2 is 8. It does not increase by 4 times. If it were to increase by 4 times, this would be 16. So this statement is false. In other words, when I double the net force and the mass is constant, the acceleration does not increase by 4 times. It increases by 2 times. So I get rid of this one. I'm just going to continue this process here. Let's erase this. Let's look at the next one. All right, again, I'm going to kind of read it backwards. The mass is constant, so I'm going to stick with these two. They're constant. There's a doubling of the net force. Yes, that occurs here to here. The net force is doubled. When I double 8, I get 16. And the 2, that's constant. Let's see, when this happens, is there a decrease in acceleration by 2 times? So let's go to the corresponding acceleration. Does it decrease by 2 times? Well, decrease means to go down. And this went up. It didn't decrease by 2 times, it increased by 2 times. So this one's gone. Let's go to the next one. Why don't you look at the next one and see if it's the correct answer based on what we've just done? What do you think? Let's see. Oh, hold on. You know what? It's a little tricky. You can pause the video if you want to. Let me erase all of this now. Welcome back. If you pause the video, it says a doubling of the mass. Now, so the mass doubles. Where does the mass double? Doubles here and here. Now the mass isn't constant. It says it's a doubling of the mass. So the mass is doubled here and here, or it's doubled here and here. So you can use either this or this. I'm just going to use rows 1 and 2. You could use row 3 and 4. So it says a doubling of the mass, and that's true. The mass is doubled here. If I double 2, I get 4. And let's see. And in this situation, the net force stays constant. Let's make sure the net force stayed constant. It did. It stayed the same. So in this situation, a doubling of the mass force, does this decrease the acceleration of the object by half? Well, let's go to the corresponding acceleration. Was it decreased by half? Well, it was decreased. And yes, it was decreased by half, because if I take half of 4, I get 2. So this one holds true. So C is correct. I'm not even going to worry about D. Let's go to the next one. Here's some diagram, and this has to do with meiosis right here. And I'm not an expert on meiosis. I don't need to be, but let's use the process of elimination. It says, what is the result of this event? So here's the starting part of the event, and here's the resulting event. The resulting event is what happens at the end. Result. Right here, this is the result. So it says A, chromosomes are genetically identical to the paternal chromosome. Well, do these resulting chromosomes appear, each one, do they appear identical to the paternal chromosome, the one in red? Is the coloring the same? No. The paternal chromosome is all red, and these resulting chromosomes, this one isn't all red, and this one isn't either, so A is gone. What about B? Are the chromosomes identical to the maternal chromosome? Well, here's the maternal chromosome at the beginning. Are these resulting chromosomes identical in color to the maternal? No. The maternal is kind of this bluish gray color. I'll call it light blue. And these resulting chromosomes aren't light blue. This is not totally light blue, and this one isn't either. B's gone. Now, hopefully you know that in meiosis that when the crossing over event occurs right here, this is the crossing over event, there's genetic kind of material that is exchanged. This here is a combination right here. You see these two segments are combining, and that's probably why C is correct. It says the chromosomes are genetic combinations, and this is a combination. They're overlapping each other, and genetic material is exchanged or combined. That's not probably the most accurate explanation, but that's probably why C is correct. The chromosomes, the resulting event at the end, once this crossing over takes place, this ending event, this resulting event is as follows. Chromosomes are a genetic combination of the parent chromosome. So in other words, these chromosomes at the end are a combination original chromosomes of the mom and the dad based on this crossing over. Now, why is D not correct? It says the chromosomes contain a different amount. There's not a different amount. There's the same amount of genetic material. The chromosomes are the same size. So there aren't different amounts of genetic information. There's just a combining of them. So that's why D is incorrect. All right, let's go to 8. Again, I would flag this. I'll kind of summarize this. You can pause the video and scan through this and read this, but I always recommend that you go to the question here. See if you can make a prediction before even reading the article. It says, scientists infer from the investigation that fish raised in water with higher levels of acidity have difficulty hearing predatory sounds. Which excerpt from the text supports this inference? So an inference is basically an educated guess made by an observation. You might be able to scan through this and eliminate some. Let's kind of go back through the article. I want to summarize it. And I recommend when you're taking the test, you scan through these. To be honest with you, I would probably pick a couple, but let's just go back here. If you read this, basically what's going on is you have CO2 levels rising in water, and that increases the acidity. And the experiment put some fish eggs, some fertilized fish eggs. They were put into 4 different aquariums, and the CO2 levels were changed. They were altered. There was, in the first aquarium, there was normal CO2 levels at 390. That's normal CO2 levels. And the other 3, the CO2 levels were increased. So that went from 390 to 600, 700, and 900. And as you increase the CO2 levels, it increases the acidity of the water. And they wanted to know how that affected the fish in the experiment. So I need to, based on changing these CO2 levels, what happened to the fertilized fish eggs? That's my inference. And if you read this, you will see what happened is that the fish raised in CO2 levels did not avoid the sounds of the predatory fish. That's basically what happened. And that ones that were raised in normal CO2 levels did avoid the sounds of the predatory fish. So it seemed that the raising of the CO2 levels affected the hearings of the fish. That's the inference. They did not avoid the predatory fish. So I read the article. What could I infer? And these are all excerpts from the article. So which excerpt from the text supports this inference above? This is the inference. Scientists from investigation that fish raised in water with higher levels of acidity have difficulty hearing. So what do you think it is? Remember, what inference can I make from the experiment? The experiment basically inferred the following, that when I raise CO2 levels, it messes up the hearing of the fish. Which one of these answer choices supports that? I would say it's D, right? It says the study showed that fish raised in CO2 levels did not avoid the sounds of the predatory fish. So what we did is we raised the CO2 levels in the article, and what happened is this is what happened. This is what we can infer. This was the result of the experiment right here. And the other ones, if you read through them, you can kind of eliminate some of them. But again, I would probably flag this one. You can go back and read it and read through each one of these. I don't want to get bogged down on this because it can suck up a lot of your time. Let's go to number 9. We got 2 more to go. And again, this deals with the article as well. This one's actually easier, I think, than the previous one if you understand independent and dependent variables. So this also is based on this passage. And they're asking you to identify the independent and the dependent variables in this experiment. What you need to remember is the following. Independent is what you manipulate or change in the experiment. So what was being manipulated or changed? That's the independent variable. And what happened as a result of that? That's the dependent. So what was manipulated in this experiment was the CO2 levels. They were changed from 390 to 600 to 700 to 900. This was the normal one. Then we changed them here. So whatever was manipulated or changed is the independent variable. So based on that, what was changed in this experiment? Well, the CO2 pressure was changed. This wasn't, I didn't manipulate this, or this. I manipulated this. What you manipulate is the independent variable. Now, as a result of that, what happened? That's the dependent. What was the ending result of us changing this? So when I changed this, what happened at the end of the experiment? Well, I can tell you the temperature. If you go back, the temperature didn't change, and the number of eggs in the aquarium didn't change. The position of the fish changed. So that was the ending result. That would be the dependent variable, and I would drag them in there. And you can go back here and see that the position of the fish were changed. That was the result of manipulating the CO2 levels. All right, and there will be a question like this, so hope that made sense. Let's go to the last one, another math question, and then we're done. It says we have some data here, 4 samples, 1, 2, 3, 4. It says the data are recorded in the table. What is the average? What is the average bone density or the average density? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Well, let's see. We have 4 samples. We have mass, volume. There's no density. We're going to need to figure out the density because we're just given the mass and the volume. So do you know how to figure out density if you're given mass and volume? Do you know the formula for density? Well, let's say you don't know it. There's a little hint here. It says density right here is grams per cubic centimeters. This means G divided by cm cubed. So there's a hint right here. It tells us to take the G, which is how the mass is measured, divided by this, which is how the volume is measured. So there's a hint. It's telling us right here to take the grams divided by this. So I would take this divided by this if I didn't remember the formula. But if you do, density is mass divided by volume. So what I'm going to do is take this, 6.8 divided by 22.6 for all 4 samples, and this divided by this, and so on. Let's do that. I'm going to bring up the GED calculator. It looks something like this. And let's divide this first one, 6.8 divided by 22.6. I'm going to hit enter, and I get this long decimal, 0.300, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to write out this whole number. If you go back to your answer choices, the decimals only go out to two decimal places, the farthest one. For example, A, if you look to the right of the decimal, goes out to 1, B goes out to 2, C goes out to 2, and D goes out to 2 decimals. So it only goes out as far as 2 decimals on your answer choices. So I'll only take this out to 2 decimal places. So I'm just going to write 0.30. I'm not going to write the whole decimal. So when I take this divided by this, I get 0.30. That's my density for sample 1, 0.30. And then I'll just continue to divide these. I'm going to go 1.7 divided by 5.4 on my own calculator. 1.7 divided by 5.4. 1.7 divided by 5.4 equals 0.31. So I'm just calculating the density, right, from here for each sample. 3.6 divided by 11.3, 0.31, and I'll do the last one, 0.52 divided by 17.4. Let me do that again. I'm sorry, 5.2 divided by 17.4, and that's 0.29. 0.29. All right, So we've calculated the density. Now we need the average of these 4. You don't need to remember how to find the average to get the answer now. You just need to know what average means. Averages means a good representation of these numbers. Which one of these is a good representation of all 4 of these numbers, and that's your average. In other words, which or these numbers here, these 4 numbers tend to be closest to which one of these? Can you see it? That would be your average. Now, before I give you the answer, here's a little trick to help you. Pretend this is money. Pretend this is 30 cents, 31 cents, 31 cents, 29 cents. All these numbers are clustered right around 29 to 30 cents to 31 cents. Which one of these numbers here is closest to all 4 of these numbers? Or another way to look at it, all 4 of these numbers is closest to which one of these numbers? Well, if this were money, this would be $3.20. And these numbers are not clustered around $3.20. This is gone. If this were money, this would be 36 cents. This is a little better. These numbers tend to cluster, well, not around 36 cents. So I'm going to keep this. It's a little better. Let's go to C. Do these numbers cluster around 31 cents? Definitely. These numbers are all close to 31 cents. This is the best representation. So I'm going to get rid of B, even though it's a little better. These are closer to 31 cents than 36 cents. So this is gone. And D's not correct. This is 3 cents if it were money. And these numbers are not all close to 3 cents. So you can actually figure out the average if you understand what it means by doing what I just did. Now, if you want to actually find the average, you can. To do it, you would add all 4 of these up, hit enter, and then divide by 4, because there's 4 samples, and that would give you C. So there we go. 10 questions. I hope you found this useful. Good luck when you take the GED Science test, and thanks so much for watching my video. Have a great day.